Welcome back to the Broker to Broker Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Daniel, and today we are talking about a couple different things. One, we're going to be talking about massive growth that's happened in the last 12 months in this broker's business, and I'm excited to jump into that, but also talking about how to raise your level of leadership inside your organization and what impact that makes. So I'm going to cue up the music, and we're going to get started. Welcome to the Broker to Broker Real Estate Podcast, where we have real, raw conversations with industry leaders, finding out how to connect, support, lead, and ultimately make an impact and drive results in the lives of your agents. I'm your host, Nathan Daniel, and welcome to the show. Well, everybody, please welcome to the show, Phil Duke with First Class Real Estate. Phil, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, man. I'm excited about this, and hopefully we can dive into some good content that can provide a lot of value to the folks that are listening to this today.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I've seen you on a couple other podcasts and a couple other shows. So one, thank you for coming on. I'm excited to have you on today because you've done some pretty amazing stuff this year, and we're going to jump into that. But before we do that, I want introduce yourself. Where are you from? I know First Class Real Estate, but tell us about you.
Sure. Well, I live in Northport, Alabama. A lot of people don't know where that is. It's a little small town, but Tuscaloosa, Alabama is on the other side of the river. You've probably heard of the University of Alabama, especially if you're a college football fan. And so we're just across the river from Tuscaloosa and the University of Alabama. My family moved here in 96. So from 96 on, I lived here. I got in real estate at a very young age, 19 years old. Flunked out within 2 years like most people do, and then joined the military, went back to school, finished my degree, and after being in some sales jobs for a number of years, decided to hop back in 2015 and went from being a part-time agent to a full-time agent to growing a team, to growing a brokerage, to today being out of production and having my brokerage here and a couple other locations that we've started that are in the beginning stages as well. So it's been a fun ride. I've got two little boys. One is 5 years old. One is 1 year old. Spend a lot of time with them. We're very active in our church. Still go to the gym a couple times a week. I'm not as competitive as I used to be in that arena. And then I'm also a reservist in the Army National Guard. So I still do 1 weekend a month with my military service, and I've been doing that for about 13 years now. So,
well, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for your service. I appreciate that, and the fact that you're still active and stuff. And I think you have a weekend coming up actually this weekend. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, this weekend. Yeah, I'll be heading out. I'll be Captain Duke for a couple days this weekend. So
there you go. There you go. Well, let's hop in because you've done some amazing things in your business, and so I want to start talking about that. But where I want to go is, what are your thoughts? Like today, the industry of real estate. What are your thoughts about our industry?
Yeah, so I mean, you were talking about this a little before we clicked go, but I believe that the traditional real estate brokerage model is broken. If you're listening to this, you probably are a broker or you're thinking about starting a brokerage. And the reason that you're doing that is because your brokerage, if you were an agent, was not able to meet all of your needs. And so the agent experience is really bad. The level of training, real world training that you actually need, from most brokers out there is not very good. That's why the real estate coaching industry is as big as it is. And luckily we have some of those folks that can kind of guide us along the way. But I think most of us would recognize and realize that the traditional real estate brokerage model is kind of broken, and it's up to us to fix it. And the agent experience, it is broken as well. We kind of just throw agents out there, hey, have a company meeting once or twice a month and kind of figure it out. And the good ones figure it out, and the ones that need a little bit more hands-on, that need a little bit more coaching, they end up just kind of flunking out of the business. And so, and I've seen that, over the last 5 years since I've been back in the business. The failure rate today is just as high as it was 5 years ago, even with the market where it is. And we can fix that. And if you're listening to this podcast, I would bet you're probably thinking that you can fix it and do a better job than where you were at previously. So I think we all realize that. Now there's all kind of different ways to fix it, and there's all kind of different models to go after, but we can fix it. And I think we have a duty to fix it.
I love that. I love that. I love you. I love your thought on that. And that's, the whole reason for this show is exactly that, is to help figure out what it is. Because I think last time I saw the statistic, it was like 87%. Every 2 years, it's like 87% of agents that are in their first 2 years fail.
Yep.
And that's unacceptable, right?
Yeah, I mean, any other industry, it would be very unacceptable, but we've made it easy for people to get in. We try to tell people that it's going to be one way and it's not, and they end up, I think one of the reasons why I had more success my second go around is because I finally figured out, like, what are the struggles going to be, and instead of trying to figure out how to get around those struggles, let's just figure out how to push through it. Like, if lead generation is going to be one of the number one things we got to get good at, well, let's figure out what works today, not what worked in the 70s and 80s and 90s. Not to say some of that stuff doesn't still work today, but we can be a lot smarter with it today. And I think we're in a generation now that wants to kind of go out and search on their own, and they want to feel like they found you. And but there's all kind of ways you can do it. And I think we definitely can fix it. So.
Well, let's talk about this a little bit, because you recently, you've been experiencing some massive growth, right? And so tell me how you're doing that, right? Like, I think you're over 300% growth last year.
Yeah. For me, it really just became, when I left the brokerage that I was at before, it wasn't that we had a bad relationship at all. In fact, we still have a good relationship today, but I was, paying money for coaching. I was paying money for some technology stuff that was better than what that company could offer me. And I really just felt like, man, I'm paying all this money for these extras, and I'm still giving the money to a broker. So if I just went out on my own, I could keep that extra money that I'm giving away in a cap. And I never really thought that it would turn into what it has today. But initially the plan was just, let's go out and start a brokerage. Let's get 4 or 5 really good agents. It won't be a whole lot of extra work. We'll all kind of do a good job. And what I kind of started seeing as people would come in, we do a deal with an agent. They were struggling. They liked the way that we communicated with them. And a couple months later, hey, Phil, I'm looking to make a move. And we had a good experience when we did that deal with you, and checking to see if you're looking to come in. So we got to like 10 agents without really doing any outbound recruiting. But we started seeing that, hey, not every agent is able to put all the pieces together. And it became, this is getting to be more of just like a little side thing. Like, these agents really need my help. I told them I was going to train them when they come on board with me. And because I'm still out there doing listings, working with buyers, I just couldn't do that at a high level. So really, when it really started taking off for me about a year ago was when I decided to come out of production. I had already given all my buyer sides away at that point. That went so well that those agents were really kind of starting to level up in their business as well. So I said, hey, why don't we give the listings out to these folks too? So we went bowling one day, and said whoever gets the highest score gets to pick, which one of my listings they want first. We did a little draft, and I think I had like 14 listings at that point, gave all those out to those agents. And I just went 100% towards developing the agents that I already had, and going out there and trying to find other agents to bring into our company, whether it was agents from an existing brokerage or people who were thinking about getting in the real estate business who weren't even licensed yet. And so really, to me, it's the same game. It's still generating leads. It's still having a presentation to talk, why do you want to come work here versus staying where you're at? Or why would you want to get in the real estate business versus staying in your job that you hate right now? So you still have to have a presentation. You still got to have a CRM. You still got to do follow-up. It's just, at a certain point in your career, most agents don't really do buyers after a certain point. And then if you keep leveling up even to that next level, it becomes to where listings aren't even the greatest, efficient use of your time. So now hiring an agent that could stay with you for 2 or 3 or 5 years really becomes, like the best use of your time. And now today I'm still doing that, but we're also, finding other broker owners to start other locations, because we feel like this model that we can duplicate it in other areas too. So really, it was just like about being efficient with my time and really giving those agents what they signed on for.
Yeah. Well, I love that. I especially love the bowling contest. That's unique, right? I mean, you hear a contest inside of real estate offices, but hey, you want some listings? Let's go bowling.
That's right. Yeah. We laugh about that today. It probably was not the smartest way to do it, but it worked. And I knew that those agents were going to get those anyways, and we had to figure out some kind of way to divvy them up, and it was going to be kind of unfair no matter how we did it. So we just said, hey, let's just do, y'all are going to get listings. It just depends which one you're going to get, So,
well, I think that's fun though. Like, I think it's a unique way of doing it. It expressed, like, of course, you, right? Like, be you and be real. Like, it was you being you, and like, hey, let's go bowling and let's have some fun with this. I love that.
That's right.
So, I know through growth, there's a lot of challenges, and you're learning things along the way, right? And you mentioned pushing through earlier. How are you helping those agents right now that you're attracting into your company? How are you helping them push through that cycle?
So, I mean, the biggest thing that I found, and if you can get good at this, then these agents start telling their friends and other people in your local marketplace start noticing, when you take an agent who was at another company and they weren't producing a whole lot, and you plug them into your stuff, and all of a sudden they're getting listings, they're getting pendings, it really changes the game for them. So whether they're a new agent who's brand new to the business, or if they're an existing agent who swapped over from another company to us, our goal is to have them under contract with a buyer or a seller client within 14 days of them joining on with us. Now, a lot of that's up to them. We can only control so much, but we found if we can get you a closing within 60 days of you hopping in, see how we do it, hold your hand through that first 1 or 2 or 3 transactions, it almost turns into autopilot like that. So a lot of people, I think, are thinking, man, if I have 40 agents, my phone's going to be ringing off the hook. I'm going to constantly be on the phone. What we found is the opposite. If you lead the right way and you hold their hand through those first 2 or 3 transactions and really remind them, like, remember, we went over this in your training. This is why we do it the way that we're doing it right now. Mm-hmm. Show them the right way to do it. They pretty much get it. So what I've seen, in every, leadership role that I've been in, if you show people what the scorecard is and you show them what right is supposed to look like, and you hold their hand as they do it the first 1 or 2 or 3 times, that's not to say they're going to be an expert after 3 closings. They're not, but they're going to at least be able to function almost, without you being there looking over their shoulder time after time after time. So that's where we have gotten really intentional is when you hop on with us, we are going to put everything we've got into you for those first couple months to help you get started. And then, we're going to keep doing that stuff too, but we got other folks we're trying to bring up too, but we're going to try to get you kick-started, to try to get you going, to show you why we're doing it the way we do it. And some of them end up taking off and doing it themselves. And some of them do those first 2 or 3, and then they just kind of go right back to what they were doing before. We can't help that. All we can do as leaders is kind of set the condition for what that's supposed to look like and hope that they see the value in that. And the more of them that we hire, the more of them, that's starting to happen for. So that's probably the big thing for me is I feel like you need to say, like, there's, new agents have questions. They're worried about stuff. They have these limiting beliefs. They start losing hope. And if you let them go 3 months, 4 months, 6 months without a closing with you, they've at that point lost all hope. Number 1, in themselves. Number 2, that they picked the right industry to be in. And number 3, that they picked the wrong company to be at. So we can greatly, greatly stack those odds if we can help them get a closing within 60 days.
Okay. So I love that because now you're taking a hands-on approach. So I'm curious about like the expectations that you're setting, like in that initial hiring process, like, are you setting expectations at a really high level or what's that look like? And then second part of my question is, how are you holding them accountable to those expectations?
Yeah. So for us, when we have to tailor make every business plan depending on what their goals are. I mean, we have some of them that, they've left a full-time job and real estate's their main thing and they need to get going really, really quickly. We have other folks that, they're getting into this part-time and they're looking to transition out of that full-time job and get into real estate at a full-time level, and they might have to go a little bit slower. So I do think it has to be, kind of attainable, but basically the way that we have it right now is that we have an online training system that I've created. It's a lot of people are using Trainual or some of those like that. We just used a free Facebook group. You can set up a Facebook group as a social learning group, set it up in units, and ours is 8 units. And it goes over things from how to set up their calendar, how to set up their bookmarks on their computer, all the way down to doing contracts, negotiating, lead generation. Again, it's not all inclusive. It's just enough to kind of get them started, give them some basics. I've also found, just from experience too, you throw too much at them and expect too much of them right out the get-go, they end up just getting crushed by it. So we want to give them some confidence. And so really for them, they go through that training kind of on their own. We check in with them periodically. But at the end of that training, before we start turning on the lead sources, the lead routing to them, they have to come in and do a skills test and show that they know how to do the things that we ask them to do. Simple stuff like making sure they can open up the MLS, making sure they know how to set up a showing using showing time, making sure they know how to use an electronic lockbox. And then it gets a little bit more advanced. They do have to go in there and write up a contract, get it signed electronically. You'd be surprised how many people we hired who, didn't grow up around computers. They don't even know how to attach a PDF to an email. So, we have that little stuff in there like that. So our goal is to just break it down, make it as simple as we can, give them some action steps. And then we give them a list of 6 things we think they should be doing every single day. And then every Thursday night, we have a little accountability meeting that we do on a video chat. And for those that can't make it live, we do record it. And they have some homework that's due every Monday morning, 10 or 15-minute little homework thing. This past week, we did a time study where they look at how many hours you have in a week, how many you're willing to work, how many you're going to sleep, how many you're going to do for your hobbies, and then how many hours a week do you have left over to kind of show them. And most of them was 20, 30, 40 hours that they have left over, even when they're doing real estate and another job. So really, for us, it's really like going through the training as fast as they want to. They don't have to wait on us. We don't have to wait on them. They can start. We had one today that passed her real estate exam, came by here and signed her license. We've got her plugged into the training right now. She can go ahead and get started going through the videos, doing the little quizzes, doing the activities while we're waiting on her license to come back. And if she does, then that shows me that she's pretty motivated. And I probably want to train her different than somebody who we added them to the training site and they didn't touch it for 7 days. So we do have to cater it a little bit, but we have a system to follow. And if you follow this system, we can pretty much guarantee you that you're going to get these results. And then we just do those accountability meetings. If we don't see you on there for a week or two, we do reach out, but we can't force you to show up to that stuff. But we have a system. We feel like if you follow this system, it'll at least be enough to get you started. It might not be enough to sustain you forever, but we feel like if you do this for the first 30, 60, 90 days, you'll be set up for success. So
I love that. I think that's great. Using the power of technology. I mean, everybody's on Facebook anyways, right? So using the power of Facebook with the group and developing those skills there, which I love that, breaking it down into units. I think that's fantastic. And then I like how you cater it to each person, right? Move at the speed that they want to go, right? Because there's only so much we can do as leaders for them, right?
Yeah, I mean, all we can do is kind of set the conditions and have a good system and plug and play them into that system. And it really does come down a lot to them on what they're going to do or what they're not going to do. The ones that hit it hard, that knock out their training quickly, they typically do better than the ones that take 30 days to knock out those 8 units. That's not to say that the people that took 30 days are bad people or bad agents. But we're going to train and mentor and coach those ones that seem motivated a little bit harder and a little bit more time with them than we are the ones that are just kind of kicking the tires a little bit. So I think as a leader too, you got to figure out who's like your A team, who's your B team, who's your C team, and you have to kind of coach and mentor those folks, accordingly. Everybody here has probably had that experience where you don't see an agent for a month. And then all of a sudden, they knock on your door. Hey, Phil, I don't have any closings set up right now. You got any leads for me? I'm like, well, gosh, I hadn't seen you for a month. I just figured you were doing okay, So you got to figure out, how to coach different groups that way. And that A group, B group, C group is a good way to do it too.
Okay. So if someone's wanting to have success, and I love all of this, I think it's very systematic. It's like taking somebody by the hand through this process of getting started, right? If somebody's wanting to have that level of success that you're experiencing right now, like how do we need to grow as a leader to do that?
Well, I think, number one, you've got to have your mindset right. It took me 18 months to get to 10 agents. It only took me 9 months to get from 10 agents to 40 agents. So a lot of that was me. was in my mindset of like, hey, if I add more people, this is just going to be a ton of work. A ton of people are going to be calling me. I won't be able to, have family time at night because my agents are going to be bugging me. So part of that is just, learning the right way to do this thing. Like, how do you effectively lead this? How do you set up this system? And then number two, I think having a coach or a mentor who's already done what it is that you're wanting to do. I mean, when I got back in the business in 2015, I immediately hopped in to a group coaching course that I'm still part of today. I still, interact with those agents in there. I've had coaches that help me specifically with prospecting. I've had coaches that I've hired for social media. I've had coaches that I've hired to help me with recruiting agents. So there are people out there who have already mastered, segments of this business. And instead of you just trying to figure it out and piece it together over time, you'd be a lot smarter to go out there and just find who those experts are. And even if it costs you some money, it's going to save you a bunch of money in the long run because you're going to be able to do it faster. You're not going to have to do that, trial and error kind of period. So I think that's been one of the big keys as well. The first 18 months that I had my brokerage, I was still in my group, coaching program that was more for like agents who are producing. I didn't really have a mentor who was helping me with the brokerage side and actually building a business. So and I was looking for something like that. I had a hard time finding a model that seemed like it would be a good fit for me and for the agents who worked for me. I didn't want to be one of those brokers where people come in and as soon as they feel like they don't need you anymore, they leave. Like, we don't want to have a revolving door. We want to keep them forever if we can. And so we had to find, a model that kind of accommodated to that. So I would just say that's probably the fastest way, whether you're an agent who's wanting to become a successful producer, if you're a broker that's wanting to take it to the next level, if you're wanting to recruit at a higher level, find somebody that's already done it and just learn from them, rip off and duplicate R&D, what they've done. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. So.
Well, and I agree with that 100%. You got to find a coach, right? I mean, a coach can actually make you a lot of money. It might seem like a painful investment up front, but when you plug into what they've done in R&D, like you said, they can really take you to the next level. So let's talk about this. Like, what's the next level of success look like for you? I know you said now you're looking beyond just a brokerage. Now you're looking at brokerages. Like, what's that look like for you?
Yeah. So the next level for me, because, I kind of took this model and ran with it. My company offered me an opportunity to become an area representative with them, which just means I had a chance to purchase some franchise territories, and they're not like geographic territories. We can really go anywhere. So as I have, masterminded with people, network with people, I have been trying to find people who want to take their business to the next level. And instead of me having to go move to their town and help them develop a business for a year and then move back here, what I found is that through coaching and mentoring, we can run the same playbook here. So the same way we recruit agents, the same way we train agents, we can really just, rinse and repeat this thing over and over and over. And I can be a partner with them on that, or they can be 100% owner. Either way, as an area representative, I do have, 4 other locations right now. One is in Alabama. The other 3 are in other states. And I do coaching calls with those franchise owners every week. And we're trying to help them grow and provide them tools to help them get through some of the hurdles that we have gone through, and trying to be just a couple steps ahead of them. Not say that we've got it figured out or that we're smarter than them, but we're a little bit further along in the game than what they are. And instead of them having to learn the hard way, we can kind of provide them some tools, some checklists, some processes, some training to kind of help them get to the next level. So I think ultimately, success for me looks like having my one location here to the point that it's running and growing without me. Right now, it's running without me. I mean, they can pretty much run it without me, but I'm still involved in the recruiting, and we've hired. We've hired a branch operation manager to come in on March 1st, who's going to hopefully take it and run with it. So then I can spend more time, developing these other territories. So I think ultimately, to have a business that can run and grow without me, without depending on me, I guess. I mean, I think it probably does a little bit better when I'm here, but ultimately, if it can continue growing and running without me, then I think that would be considered a success. And then we'll have to figure out at that time what we're going to do with all that extra time, because I don't think like sitting on a beach is the is the destination for me. I don't think, kicking my feet up and letting money come in, like we're going to just keep going to the next thing. We're in the process of opening up a title company here. We've partnered with a title company that's approved in all 50 states. So once these other locations get to the point that they're growing up and in production, we can go, partner and open up a new title company, each one of those. And we're using that title company to sell shares of that to our top agents here as a recruiting and a retention tool. So, hey, come over with me, join my brokerage. We'll give you 100 shares of the title company. You'll get a check every month, depending on how well it does. And if you leave us, well, then you get your initial buy-in money back, So those are things we've done the same thing with a mortgage company. Right now, that mortgage company is not opened in Alabama, but it is, approved in other states. We're working on an Alabama one. Alabama rules are kind of, really outdated. So we couldn't do the mortgage company, partnership here, but we can do title companies, and we can do a title company, in all 50 states. And all that comes from having agents and having production. The faster you can, just like when you take a listing, you want to get that listing on the MLS as fast as possible and get buyers walking through it. When you hire an agent, you don't want to make a 60, 90-day training program. They're going to lose interest by then. They lose some momentum. You want to get them through that training program, get them out there working buyer and seller leads. They learn way more anyways, when they're actually out there doing stuff real world, and you just hold their hand through it for those first 2 or 3 deals. That's kind of the secret to our formula, I guess you'd say. So
the secret sauce. I like it. Well, and I was going to ask you the question, like, what's it going to take you to do that? And I heard you say, and you answered my question, like, what's it going to take for you to do that? And you've got somebody coming in. So I love that. So now you can go off and get to that next level, break that ceiling. So, and I mean, if you're watching this, like on the video, you saw my mind just blew when you started talking about titles. So if you're open to this, like, that's actually a series I'm putting together right now, which is ancillary businesses, which is going to be coming soon. I'd love to pick your brain, maybe have you back on the show to like dive a little deeper into that, because that is a huge retention piece. Like that's next level. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, you could bring somebody in even on 100% commission, plan, and offer them 100 shares of your title company, and now they're a partner with you on the title company, and you get the ripple effect of them leaving whatever brokerage they were at and now coming on with you, and you're not even making much money as the broker, but your title company now is more profitable because you recruited that agent in. So yeah, it's like a no-brainer. You can win all kind of different ways, and I think that's what you've got to set up. You got to set up a system to where you can win with the brand new agent that does 1 deal, or you can do it with the agent that's going to sell 100 deals, or you can recruit the team in that's going to do 300 deals. So really it needs to be a win for everybody. So when you have little stuff like that, it's just one more little tool that you got. So yeah, I definitely would love to, we don't have it fully open yet. We've filed everything with the state. We've actually done a few closings with it, just as kind of test run. So maybe in another 2 or 3 months, maybe we'll have some actual numbers to look at as far as how profitable that can actually be.
I'll let you work out the kinks and stuff, and then we'll have you come back on. So
that's right. Yeah. Give me a couple months to get it to where it's running by itself. So
there you go. Well, Phil, thank you so much for coming on today and telling us your story and about the growth that you've experienced and how you grew as a leader all along the way. So we've been talking to Phil Duke Jr. with First Class Real Estate. Phil, thanks for being on the show.
Absolutely, man. And I look forward to hopping back on here and talking some title business, hopefully once we get that thing to where it's running pretty good. So
I think it's going to be an awesome conversation. I'm looking forward to it.
Yep.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Broker to Broker Real Estate Podcast. If you like what you heard, make sure you subscribe to the channel. For more information, tools, and resources, go to www.brokertobrokerpodcast.com, and always remember, be you and be real. We'll see you on the next episode.